people here waiting and hoping something will happen. I appreciate it. Consider we help area people get on and the things that we can do. As the people here, you know, we're against you. That's why you're in office. And we expect you to do some things for our colony and our community. Thank you for letting me talk, say my little words as a senior citizen here. Thank you.
Well spoken. Bill Stuntz. Followed by Brian. Let me get a couple ahead, Bill. Followed by Brian Leland. Looks like Saxmont. Followed by Kathleen Lashevitz. Followed by Jim Oakley. Bill.
Morning, Bob. Bob Olashevitz and Leslie covered pretty much my points in that. Bob and Leslie covered my points pretty well in depth with all the facts and figures, and we're all aware of that. I'm not going to go into the reasons why we need the mine. We've been down that road, around that corner many times. You knew that a long time ago while we came up here. I sent you a letter, and Senator Schultz, regarding my disappointment in your actions and how you've represented us. And I hear, I'm going to make it short, but I do hear a lot. I talk to a lot of people talk to me because I've been involved from the beginning here. And I guess my only statement is you could have retired a hero up here. Instead, I don't think that's going to be the case. So we were looking forward to having you on our side. We never thought that you would come to our side. As far as compromise, like Leslie said, 22 attempts to meet you in the middle, nothing from Schultz and Jauch. So again, we're disappointed, and I'm not going to take up a bunch of time here, but we're sorry, and as we have shown, we need to make a change, and we need to get someone on our side. We need our mind up here.
Bill, you want to come up? I want to keep reading ahead, Bill, if you don't mind. Brian, Leland, Kathleen, Jim Oakley. Okay, yeah.
Morning, gentlemen.
Morning.
Thanks. I have to confess, I admire the fact that you come here and stand it back. I knew you were going to take a lot of pressure on this. You do that much better. But I do want to correct you on a few things. Now, I don't belong to any particular political affiliation or anything like that, but I've noticed that Republicans and Democrats alike are united in the fact that they're really ticked. You know, you have kind of slapped the face at our flag for the state of Wisconsin. What's that? Mining. That's one of the symbols on it that is recognized as part of our heritage, mining. We need jobs in this area. We've got to have jobs. We need somebody, I don't care who, Republican, Democrat, to stand up in this area. It just seems like you tend to not focus on our area rather than your constituents from another area. That being said, please do something for us. Okay, we're all in this together. Thank you.
Thank you. Leland, looks like.
Senator, I heard your question.
Yeah, okay. Yes.
Can you hear me okay out there? That's a little bit of an allergy today.
Oh, okay.
I've been sitting back analyzing this entire situation. I'm that type of person. I'm an engineer.
I'm having a little trouble
Okay.
with it.
I've been sitting back. Okay. If you can't hear me, I'll use the megaphone.
If you don't mind,
since it's been playing out, and I looked at the sulfide issue first, that's been a red herring. The water at the headwaters of the Bad River, the pH is 7.15. By the time it gets down to US 2, downstream, it's at 9.50. And so it's very alkaline. If there was going to be a problem with sulfides in this area, it'd be coming from all the ore piles. There's millions of tons of ore all around the headwaters of all these pristine rivers leading to Lake Superior. Millions of tons along Highway 77, Montreal, Tyler Forks. You look everywhere. There's a big river, there's ore piles. If there was going to be a problem with the ore, the EPA and the DNR in Michigan and Wisconsin, Army Corps of Engineers would have quarantined this area as a Superfund site. That hasn't happened. We're still here. This sulfide thing is a red herring. The hole's not going to be 1,000 feet in the ground. At Tyler Forks, they start on the ore about 40 feet down. Make rock outcroppings right at the surface. That's a red herring. It's not happening. With the water, they're going to buy from the state of Michigan. They're not going to be dumping water in. I checked this out. They're not dumping water into the rivers. They're leaving the rivers alone or moving them as the DNR allows them to be slightly moved as needed. That's a red herring on the water topic. As far as any acid in our area, I've asked the DNR, why are the hardwood treetops dying back in this area? Why is there so much mercury in Lake 6? We have nothing going on up here. The one DNR water quality specialist told me, it appears that it's coming from coal burning in China. So our biggest source of pollution here is not us, it's China! That's the right there. Now, I wanted to find out, okay, why are you throwing all of these red herrings and hurdles in front of us? Follow the money. I always look at the money. Where is it coming from? Well, there's a mining concern called Rio Tinto on the other side of the planet. Huge mining concern. They have a deal maker named George Soros. Check it out in the financial pages. You'll see he's making these mega billion-dollar deals for Rio Tinto to buy more mining lands on other parts of the planet. The same George Soros has been funding a place that you, Bob Jauch, Senator Jauch, and Senator Jauch Schultz overlap with George Soros, called Green Wisconsin. They're fighting us. You're fighting us. You overlap with Soros' money. Right then and there. We have another problem that's cropped up in our area. Most people are unaware of, and this was pointed out to me by a retired town chairman years ago. Isle Royal used to be designated as a UN biosphere, habitat reserve area. Well, since that started many years ago, all of the Apostle Islands, except for Madeline Island, have been turned into these biosphere recovery areas and depopulated of people. They're getting the people out. They're shutting their cabins down, their homes down, rooming the people out. We're designated on the same map here as habitat recovery area. George Soros is funding this garbage they call Agenda 21 through treaties in our nation. You overlap again with him financially. Green Wisconsin, you and Dale Schultz are the only two I can find overlapping with the Soros money. I think what's happening here is the unseen hand, is you're the point man, you're throwing red herrings in front of all of us in all directions. In the meantime, Soros is working for his buds overseas to block a competing mine from ever starting. You're basically aborting this mine, and you're working to do it. And I think you should just resign and get out today.
I thought I'd come to Hurley instead. And that doesn't count for something they don't do.
My name is Kathleen Wallace-Shavitz.
Kathleen, I think you have to speak. I want to make sure others hear you.
Hi, my name is Kathleen Wallace-Shavitz, and I'm related to Bob Wallace-Shavitz. He's my husband, and he's been spending an extreme amount of time, effort, and family time, actually, on this issue to try to have the legislature and senators listen to the voice of Iron County. I'd like to speak today on 3 issues: health, family, and trust. First of all, health. With our population not having jobs and not having the opportunity to be productive citizens of the United States, because there are very few jobs out there, and this mine would open up opportunities for them, we are having a huge increase in depression, alcoholism, gambling, and it's hurting our families tremendously. And if you have that in the parents of our children, what are we creating for our future up here? Secondly, family. We want to have positive role models for our children. Parents that are working and are happy and are able to produce enough to support their own families. And thirdly, trust. One thing I haven't heard is that the government and the bills are willing to trust the DNR and all the environmental agencies that take care of our earth. There's talk about scare tactics where the wells are going to dry up and the water's going to get bad. Where is the talk saying we trust the DNR, we trust those government agencies that are set up to provide regulations, and they're going to watch the money and they're going to take care of all that for us? Instead, we have people worried about all this stuff when we do have these government agencies that do take care of that. Thank you for listening. And I appreciate the eye contact that I got from someone.
Jim, while you're getting settled there. Jim Oakley, followed by the main Massey, John Sendra, Phil Laguna, Steve Schurter, Bill Maris. That's the steps I have.
Okay, my name is Jim Oakley. I'm from Ashland County. I'm a candidate for the Ashland County Board in this Tuesday's election. And I've lived in Wisconsin my whole life, just like most people here. And I spent a lot of my growing up years near Mellon, where my family has some property. And I decided to come here today because I'm on my way over to Vilas County, where I'm going to do a little work at the place this afternoon. And I thought I would stop here. I know that Senator Jauch is going to have another session in Ashland County this afternoon. And I guess I'm concerned about a lot of the division that we feel that I would have imagined about 4 years ago, 3 years ago even. But we're all in this together. And there seem to be very few calm voices in the middle that we listen to. And I hear talk about us versus them, and people on that side or the other side. We're all in this together. And we're all going to live with the decisions that are made. And the divisions in state government, the divisions that we hear, one side talks about George Soros, the other side talks about the Koch brothers. There's a lot of outside money that we can point fingers at, I think, on both sides. And but we're the people that live here. And we've got future generations that we need to think of. Not just for the jobs, but the whole quality of life. And good long-term jobs. That's why I was hopeful a few weeks ago when I heard Senator Schultz speak, and frankly, one of his concerns was that the mining regulations that are passed cover the whole state. I mean, we're concerned about what happens in our part of the state, but whatever bill would pass covers the whole state. He was concerned about his area, as he should be. I hear a lot of talk about certainty in the permitting. The company is concerned about certainty. I think we all need to have some idea of certainty about the quality of our water, air, and our sustainable economy. The ore is not going away. It's going to be there even if G-Tech isn't the company to develop it. There will at some point be somebody else with the money they're willing to invest. If it's not G-Tech, it could be someone else. Technologies will change. Technologies develop. Nobody was thinking of this 5 years ago. Now we're thinking about it, and it's a good thing. And frankly, I guess I probably won't get a whole lot of applause for this because I feel in the minority here today, but I think I can speak for most people on both, quote, sides, that we need more people in the middle, people like Senator Kedzie and Senator Schultz, Republicans, and Senator Jauch, a Democrat. We need more of that type of people representing us. Thank you. Thank you, Senator Jauch, and thank you, everybody.
Go give him a hug now.
If I could just make a quick comment. It takes a tremendous amount of courage for anybody, no matter what side you're on, to come up and speak in front of a group like this. So I really appreciate it. I don't care if you guys boo or yell at us, but please have respect for the people that speak today. Thank you.
Thank you, Nick. Wayne, Nancy, and then John, Wayne.
Yeah, I'm really proud of it too. Early midgets up here, you know. I have been involved in this mining issue, like all the people here. We're very intelligent people. I've testified in Milwaukee twice here. I've been a Iron County resident all my life. My grandfather worked in the Montreal mine. My dad worked in the Montreal mine. I've seen the benefits of the mining here. When my dad worked there, my mother was able to stay home alone, or to stay with us kids. Didn't have to find another job, raise us kids. We all got a good education and went on in our own way. The mining company in Montreal built a clinic. It's still there. It's not a clinic anymore. They provided 2 doctors. We had 100% health insurance. My dad, on his own way, was able to do all this and raise our family and have my mother stay home to raise his kids. That is so important. That's not the way the jobs are nowadays. And here we had a chance for a similar good job, good benefits, which a good job and good benefits is freedom for the people in our area. And I lived here, so I know that. But getting back to a couple points that were brought up here today, and I respect you to come and be in front of us. I think this is the reason you're here is because of the recall. But I'll talk about that a few minutes later. But you know, when you talked about Walker and you wrote a letter and you wanted a meeting, and like Leslie brought up, I knew that your wife circulated petitions to recall and then you signed it. So I mean, that's just covering your tracks. You know, it's you want him out of office in a couple of months anyway. So I mean, why even have a meeting with him? Because you signed his recall thing. I'm not for recalls. I'll tell you that right now, and I'll tell everybody in this crowd, and it'll be a very unpopular thing. I'm not for recalling you. Not like I'm like any of the recalls in Wisconsin.
Anybody can applaud if they'd like to.
Well, and I'll tell you why I'm not for recalls. Because the mess we're in right now is because of the dysfunctional government we have in Madison, and it has a lot to do with recall. And the thing is, we can't get a mining bill worked out through because of the dysfunctional government. And our government is dysfunctional, and the drug that this government is on is power. Who's going to run this state? Is it going to be an R or a D? And that's all they're putting their efforts for, and that's all they're fighting about. And the people in this area which have an opportunity that can be worked out. A bill can be so easily worked out here. I hear all these complicated things. You've always worked out bills here. We have Lake Superior, our streams, our ski hills, our lumber industry. The state has always come up with reasonable bills that we can harvest our timber and use our wood and use our mountains so that it benefits the whole of Wisconsin and elsewhere. This whole thing is not about mining, not about environment. This is about R's and D's and who's going to have the power to run this state, and it's sick.
Yes.
And I follow this fairly closely, and I know a lot of people here have too. But, we put our faith in the two representatives that are in front of us today, our senator and our assemblyperson, to do what's best for the people in our community. Not what if they're a Republican or a Democrat, but I believe this is what has swayed your reasoning in this whole thing, is you've put roadblocks everywhere you could to delay this mining or to not get this bill to work because you want the power for Democrats, and maybe the Republicans would do the same thing. I'm not getting it. I'm not an R or a D myself. I'm an independent thinker and independent voter. But this is such a sad situation we're in when we had opportunities here. When some company wants to come to Hurley, if you've ever been here a year, I've not been in their office. My office is just a little ways away from them because I want to see what they're made out of. And for a company here that's already spent maybe $1 million, maybe $2 million, they've already employed some people in their office, $3 million, and they're looking for a mining permit, and they could be spending another 100 or 200 million just to apply for a mining permit, turn around and then invest $1.3 billion in Iron County and Ashland County, and then produce a little pellet that's about the size of a deer turd, and sell it worldwide, and create 700 jobs and all the other jobs around it. That's the best news we've ever heard in many years. To get this bogged down between R's and D's and this whole thing is just totally ridiculous. There's no credibility here with government. And the thing is, Senator Coe, I get 4 papers and I read all the time. But here you are in the Ashland paper on February 27th, when you had your talking sessions in Mellon, and this one here was quoted for you over at the Visitor Center in Ashland. You're saying, Jauch assured Silbert that the legislation him and Schultz crafted could make it very difficult for a mining company to get a permit. Now that pretty much says it all. We don't elect officials to make it very difficult for someone to get a permit. It has to be responsible mining. You used that 1 million times, responsible bill. I 100% agree with you. Nobody can argue with that. But there was a pretty responsible bill there with the Voss Darlington bill. I think that could have passed, and we could be putting this behind us. But you say your bill and Schultz's bill, that was the bill, but it's going to make it very difficult for a mining company to get a permit. You say that would pass 1760. I don't know if it would have passed or not. We won't know that. But I don't know if every Democrat in the whole state, especially Madison, would have voted for your bill. You say they will, but we will never know. But the thing is, you have a company that comes here and sets up office, and you know what? They've been treated like they're the bad guy. Not in my backyard do we want mine. Well, we've been pretty patient here. I've lived here all my life. I've employed a lot of people. I still employ people. I've seen my company go from 120 down to 20. I've seen a lot of people have to move away from here. And we've paid health insurance and pensions in this, you know. And to lose this whole thing over what I believe is over R&D's quality is totally, you know, we should vote all of them out. That's my opinion.
Just briefly want to comment about that quote in the paper. It's not a direct quote. It's a out of context remark where I was responding not to the process of how long a mining permit took, but about air and water quality standards. The question was about weakening standards. And I was saying it should be difficult when you're dealing with such a water-sensitive area. And so that's, I understand, it's one of those things that's not what Jauch said in the total context. But I was talking about standards. Johnson.
Good morning, everyone. I've sat here and listened to all the testimony about what's needed up in Iron County, and quite frankly, it was pretty well expressed. I also was involved, not from the beginning, but like many of my associates here, I got involved on September 15th. I went to the lobby session in Madison, Wisconsin, September 27th, 28th. And I learned a lot, I guess, as I went along the way. I learned a lot about politics. Politics are very political. I don't care what you said in the period of 45 minutes, sir. You are political. You're a master at what you do. I want you to know also, one aside, I agree an awful lot with what Wayne Nacy said, except for one place in the park company. Voting is for hiring, recalls are for firing. If I had 20, or if I had one employee like you, sir, I would fire them. I watched you in Madison when you were there for breakfast, and you told us all the reasons, just like you told us today, why you wouldn't vote for the bill. You called it responsible mining. Assemblyperson Dooley, you said responsible mining. You never once, in all the time that I've listened to you in 8 months, 9 months, have you said what responsible mining is. I'd like a definition of responsible mining. I also watched you nitpick, like you continue to do, about the number of people on the committee, the mining committee. You were all against that. There were 40 of us there that watched you nitpick over whether there were going to be 2 Democrats or 3 Democrats, but you knew the party in power was Republican, so therefore they still voted because they were in the majority party. So I watched all this diatribe. I listened to your and Assemblyperson Dooley's diatribe about environment, contested case hearings, and it was the same stuff over and over and over. After a while, it becomes insulting to all of our friends here. We want jobs, in case you don't know it. When you talk about the environment, I gotta ask you this because you are part of the government. There are 9 agencies, 9 federal agencies, U.S. Fish and Wildlife, EPA, MSHA, ATF, ACE, Army Corps of Engineers, ACHP, Department of Commerce, Department of Transportation, TSC. Those are just the federal agencies. There are 2 state agencies, Wisconsin WSHS, Wisconsin State Historical Society, Wisconsin Department of Natural Resources. Plus you got to deal with the county. You scared us about the environment. The sky has not fallen. The rivers are still running too. Senator Jauch, we've had enough. Please, don't insult us anymore. We want you to go back, and don't put the ball in Governor Walker's court. You voted this down. You should go and ask him to please grant you the opportunity to make amends for the mistake you made with your vote. Or Senator Sherrill.